We now move to the AFC East. You can see with the Buffalo Bills, they drafted Kobe Fleener at tight end with the 10th overall pick. Probably a bit of a reach, but they went there anyways. We have Whitney Mercilus at defensive end, Shea McClellan also at defensive end, so they get two defensive pass rushers there in the second and third round. Jamel Fleming in the fourth at cornerback, Mark Asper, offensive guard, Blair Walsh at kicker, and then Brandon Washington, another guard. So two defensive ends and two guards. Looking at their roster, they have, of course, Christian Ponder. He's in his sophomore season. Tyler Thigpen, and then Bruce Gradkowski. Gradkowski actually took the Munchak Bills to the playoffs one year. Last year, they didn't do as well. Now, Munchak is fired, so it is Rex Ryan as the head coach here in Buffalo. We see their running back core with D'Angelo Williams, old man Deuce McAllister, who made the Super Bowl with the Miami Dolphins, division rival. Last year, it was Deji Karim being like the backup for D'Angelo Williams. He got some playing time, the young, fresh legs. But now the Bills are the ones with the old running back core with Williams and McAllister. They do have Greg Jones at fullback. As for the receiving core, Jacoby Jones is the star in Buffalo. He's their lead man. They did bring in Danny Amendola in free agency. Mike Sims-Walker, a former draft pick of theirs, late round pick. Patrick Turner, Chris Durham. Kobe Fleener comes in. I mean, he's 67 overall, same as Tony Scheffler, but of course Fleener has more upside. They also have Brandon Myers. This was a team that did take Jake Long. I mean, interesting, some Miami Dolphin prospects here on the Bills and my franchise. Anthony Collins, who was a free agent signing, and actually Anthony Collins, even though he's a 74 overall, was like the most coveted guard in free agency. He was like a 74 overall, and everybody wanted him. Evan Smith and Joe Hawley, two 66s at center. They didn't really pull off a good center yet. Jahari Evans, their star offensive lineman, along with Jake Long. And then DeMar Dotson, who's like 6'8". He's also there on the right side. On defense, they have Lamar Woodley and now recently acquired Whitney Mercilus. Shea McClellan does make the roster as a backup to Woodley. They are rocking Albert Hainsworth right there in the middle, unlike in real life when he left Tennessee for Washington and just fell off the face of the earth. He has not fallen off the face of the earth here in Buffalo. We see linebackers Larry English, Justin Durant, Osi Umenyiora, who is aging now, and they're probably going to have to work on replacing him at some point soon because I think he was a 2003 draft pick or something like that. They do have Kareem Jackson, who's their star cornerback, with Tracy Porter, Sherrod Martin, Jamel Fleming, the rookie. They signed DeJuan Morgan. Now, DeJuan Morgan, even though he's a 72 overall, he was behind LaRon Landry in San Francisco when they won the Super Bowl. And DeJuan Morgan never really got a chance to start because of Landry. But now he gets a chance to start here in Buffalo, so I expect good things from him. I think he's got good stats. We'll see if his play translates into some nice Buffalo Bills successful plays. And then Taylor Mays at strong safety. On special teams, they have Patrick Turner, Jacoby Jones, Daniel Thomas, some handful of return men there. I mean, Jones is the best one. I just try not to have him return too much because I want him as a receiver and be as fresh as possible. Their kicker, Blair Walsh, is a rookie. We'll see if he stays, how long he stays in the league. Brian Moorman at punter. I do suspect that with the powerhouse division that is the AFC East, I am doubtful that the Bills are going to be very successful because you have the AFC champions Dolphins, of course the New England Patriots who've won 2 Super Bowls back-to-back, and then you have the New York Jets who are way overpowered, as you will see coming up. I would be lucky to see 7 wins for this team. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins, the AFC champions but Super Bowl losers. They draft Bruce Irvin at defensive end in the first round, Keenan Robinson, middle linebacker, A.J. Jenkins in the third round, Brandon Boykin at cornerback. We see Don Barkley at left tackle, and then D'Angelo Tyson at DT. Now, as for their roster, they do not have Herm Edwards as head coach. They do still have Jim Harbaugh in the second year. But Cam Newton is their star quarterback. He did not win Rookie of the Year, actually lost to Terrell Pryor, which is crazy. But Cam Newton nearly won a Super Bowl in his rookie year. Only rookie to do that was Ben Roethlisberger in my franchise, and that has never been done in the NFL. So 1 year and 1 Super Bowl appearance is not bad. They still have Jimmy Clausen and then Riley Skinner, practice squad guy, making the roster this year. Running back, they signed Matt Forte, Joe McKnight, and they have Joe McKnight and Ryan Williams. They used to have more of an older running back core, but now they bring in Matt Forte in his prime, so they're a bit younger now. But the biggest splash was getting Calvin Johnson Jr. That is huge. I think Newton with Calvin Johnson Jr. is just going to be crazy this season. They do have Jordy Nelson as well. So, I mean, Jordy Nelson ain't no scrub either. So, Calvin Johnson, Jordy Nelson, Michael Jenkins, Brian Hartline, and then A.J. Jenkins, that third-round pick, he's all the way down in the fifth seed there, fifth roster spot. But all those first 4 receivers, they're all like 6'3" and above. So, they're a big wide receiver room in Miami. They lost Dustin Keller, who was a first-round pick they spent back in, I think, was it 2009, I believe. But they do sign Fred Davis. Fred Davis comes over from the Colts. He's a solid tight end. He's actually probably an upgrade. Left tackle, they have Trent Williams, Vince Manui, Nick Hardwick, Carl Nix, and then Jeremy Trueblood. Behind him is Pinkston. Now, Carl Nix was on this team for a while, and he was always the backup tackle, and he was just basically the backup of any position because he was good. He was a 73, 74 overall. Now he gets his chance to start because they let some people go. But overall, a good offense with a lot of explosive opportunities. As for defense, they do have Pernell McPhee, a rookie last year. They signed Patrick Kearney. Kearney is like 35, I think. So even though Kearney could be starting on the left side, I decided to go with the younger Pernell McPhee. Bruce Irvin will get the start as the rookie over Lawrence Sidbury. And then DT, they have Mike Patterson, Clifton Ryan, Corey Irvin. The 1 year, I think it was, I forget which year it was, but the year that Bobby Carpenter was drafted was the same year they drafted Thomas Howard. So they drafted 2 linebackers in the same draft. I think they were like first and second round picks. And they also have James Laurinaitis from Ohio State. So really solid linebacking core. Tim Dobbins behind Laurinaitis. You have Aaron Henderson and Brian Roll as backups. They're a little bit weak on cornerback, especially for a Super Bowl contender. You look at Aaron Ross, Marcus Gilchrist, Don Carey, not really a main shutdown corner. Even their safety is a bit weak too. Glover Quinn, Stuart Schweigert, Chris Przinski, and Duke, the man Duke. Not really a solid defensive backfield. Then we look at returning. A.J. Jenkins is going to make his money there as a returner. Joe McKnight, also someone that can return the ball. But Paul Ettinger, the veteran, the old man at kicker, and Sam Koch. I think the Dolphins have a good chance of surprising this year again. I think they could make a deep dive in the playoffs, especially because the Arizona Cardinals really only made the playoffs last year because of Calvin Johnson. So if you have Cam Newton throwing the ball, Matt Forte running the ball, and you have role players like Jordy Nelson, Fred Davis, Michael Jenkins, this is going to be a very versatile team to defeat. I expect high things from them. The New York Jets, we see them getting the offensive guard Kevin Zeitler. They draft Jarius Wright at wide receiver. Michael Kendricks, a pretty good addition there for the linebacking core. Akeem Hicks at DT. Then they have a fullback in the 5th round, Rhett Ellison, Audie Cole at middle linebacker, and Nathan Stupar at outside linebacker. Linebackers are always important and always needed on these teams. Hard to find good ones. But as we look for their depth chart, they still rock with Todd Haley. However, they're so star-studded, and they still make the playoffs, but they typically don't go that far, and it blows my mind. This team is so powerful. You can see Alex Smith, 96 overall. They do bring in Phillip Rivers to be the backup quarterback. Yeah, Phillip Rivers, not great in my league. Clinton Portis, 94 overall running back, one of the best in the league. Andre Brown right behind him, and Bilal Powell. The rookie Ellison will be the starting fullback. In free agency, they do bring in Wes Welker. Excuse me. They have Wes Welker with Percy Harvin, Derek Hagan, the rookie Jarris Wright, Nate Washington, the veteran, kind of the fifth guy, and Geddes, the practice squad dude. But Harvin is their all-star. Wes Welker is just a solid set of hands for Alex Smith. We see Mercedes Lewis, their star tight end, starting to get, he was drafted 2006, so he's getting older. Aaron Hernandez, 63 overall. Garrett Selleck. As for their O-line, they have Levi Brown, who's been kind of their solid left tackle for many years. Kevin Zeitler wasn't super needed as offensive line. Right? We see Craig Urbrick, John Asamoah, Mike Gibson, all within that relative 70s. But I think that when you had that pick late in the first round, you go with best player available, and Zeitler is going to be a solid guard in this league, and this is a good starting for him. They did bring in Vernon Carey to be the right tackle, and that's a big addition because they needed some help there. 81 overall is going to be very good for both Alex Smith's protection and Clinton Portis's running. We see Craig Urbrick is going to be starting at right guard. On the defensive end of the ball, we have Igor Olshansky, the veteran, with Matthias Kiwanuka. In the middle there is Ndamukong Suh. That's all I can say about that. He's got that New York Jet mentality. Jarvis Jenkins, and then rookie Akeem Hicks, all be there in the center of the D line. Antoine Barnes, kind of a weaker left outside linebacker. We see Kirk Morrison, the veteran, and behind him is David Hawthorne, who was signed in free agency. But then Michael Kendricks, the third-round pick, is going to be getting a start here third-round pick. He's getting the start for right outside linebacker with David Vicune behind him. As for cornerback, they have old man Nate Clements, but then Jonathan Wade, Chris Owens, Stanley Wilson, kind of missing really a true shutdown corner other than the veteran. And then they have O.J. Otagwe, Anthony Smith. But then there's Kerry Rhodes, who I was hoping was going to be the superstar that he kind of was with the Jets, but he didn't really turn out that way in my franchise. And then as for special teams, we got Washington and Jarris Wright at return, and then Josh Scobie and Ryan Plackmeyer at punter. Again, the Jets, they're really good. They have so much talent, but we'll see if they're able to take that talent and actually get a Super Bowl. Because the Bills have won a Super Bowl, the Patriots have won 2, the Dolphins were in the Super Bowl, and the Jets are still trying to get there. The New England Patriots go off and get a very much Bill Belichick draft. We see Bobby Wagner, the middle linebacker selection in the first round. I think that's a solid pick for them, especially with what they're trying to accomplish on the defensive side of the ball in a division that's very powerful. We have George Iloka, strong safety, and then Devin Wiley. What would the Patriots be without a white wide receiver? We have Damon Harrison, a great pickup there in DT. Then in the next round there, we see David Malk at center, Christian Thompson at free safety, and then Josh Kudu at outside linebacker. So this Patriots roster features, of course, Tom Brady. Behind him is Tony Romo. Very much like Phillip Rivers, Tony Romo's career in my franchise has not been anywhere near his real career. T.J. Yates behind him. Jamal Charles, one of the best running backs in the league. Stephen Ridley, Tony Hunt, and then Marcel Reese, one of the best fullbacks in the game. I would see also veteran Andre Johnson, who ever since he was traded to the Patriots, they have made 2 out of 3 Super Bowls and won both of them. Brandon Tate, who's taking his next step up. They lose Josh Morgan to free agency, and Morgan goes to the Seahawks. But then they bring in Malcolm Kelly from Pittsburgh, and he's a big receiver, a solid contributor. Johnny Knox, and then, of course, Devin Wiley and Chris Hogan, who I do insert into the lineup several times. We see Leonard Pope, still their 6'8" tight end, their star tight end. Lance Kendricks, who was a first-round pick, I think, last year. I didn't see much from him, but I try to utilize him from time to time. Then we see where their O-line got a little bit shaken up because they lost Jason Peters to the Buccaneers. But Sebastian Vollmer takes that left tackle spot for this year. Again, they're very strapped for cash. Mike McGlynn at left guard, along with Mike Elgin, Marshall Yanda, and Austin Howard. So Yanda being their star. They did have better alignment throughout the years, but right now with Jamal Charles, Andre Johnson, and then you're going to see some defensive players, they've had a hard time keeping that payroll going for the O-line. On defense, we see Everson Griffin. We see Jerry Hughes, good pass rushers there. Cliff Matthews, Evans behind them. Broderick Bunkley, the run stopper with Cam Thomas, and they got Damon Harrison, who does have a hidden dev trait. As for linebackers, Carlos Dansby has been there for a long time, solid veteran, which is why Bobby Wagner is a great addition, because he is going to be a superstar safety for a long time for New England, with Marvin Mitchell and Moton behind him. Thomas Davis Sr., another star linebacker for the Patriots. And then there's the big free agent splash. The Patriots lost Patrick Surtain, and they lost Champ Bailey this year, to retirement. So and that freed up cap space for them. But what they decided to do with that cap space was go all in on only a few people, and they went all in on Darrelle Revis, and they got him. So they pulled Darrelle Revis from the Buccaneers, and so they have one of the best. They have the best cornerback in the league, tied with, I believe it's Tim Jennings, with the Chiefs. They do have Corey Graham, Eric Langster, so they don't have the depth of cornerback, but they do have a shutdown star. Then we have a former Super Bowl MVP Nick Collins at free safety, and then rookie George Iloka is going to be starting, and that's a vulnerability for them at strong safety, but I think the Patriots have enough firepower to manage. As for special teams, we have Devin Wiley or Ridley returning kicks, Sean Shwisham and Dave Zasterdale at punter. Again, Patriots are not a team you have to worry about. They're going to be a Super Bowl contender so long as they have Tom Brady.